Okay, so what? I gotta make it to what, 6 o'clock? Okay, I can do that. What I gotta do? I gotta check the camera, everything's good. Okay, check the door, yeah, everything's good. Yeah, everything's okay. Oh no, 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 no! Oh, Santa Maria, okay! Whoa! Oh, hey, how's it going? Snake? Yeah, that's me. What the heck are you doing here? Yeah, I don't know. My map says I got some sort of side op to do here, like eliminate the wandering puppets number like 358 or something, but I'm just in it for the GMP. So what is this? Is this easy? You know what? Sure. You think you can handle this? Okay, listen. One time, I fought this guy, his entire body was made of bees. Okay, another time, I fight this guy, he's like some sort of spider monkey, I don't know what he's doing. Another time, I fight this guy who's like 200 years old, he's got a sniper rifle, I don't know, he's like a tree or something. One time, I fight a guy who's dead, and I still kill him. You know what I do? You know what I do to people I don't like? I beat the crap out of them, and I tie them to a balloon, and I send them off into the sky, yeah? And they don't think I saved them, but they don't know it. They're scared as crap, man. I fought tanks, armored vehicles, helicopters, and giant robots. I think I can handle this. Okay, I get it. Listen, this place, the doors consume electricity, okay? I don't care what kind of stuff you've seen. This is some next level stuff, okay? Let me do this, come on, give me a chance. You think you can do it? Give me a shot. Yeah, okay, let's go. Oh, okay, thanks. Oh, okay. Oh, so all I gotta do is wait 6 hours, huh? Joke's on them.
Sign-up list updated.
Well, that was the easiest mission I've ever done in my life. Whoa, ouch. Hello! So, I know that this is not what anyone was expecting, and I'm pretty sure that nobody even wants this, but hey, I'm here, what can I say? I don't actually remember why, but sometime last year I ended up buying Five Nights at Freddy's. I think it was just out of curiosity, though. I mean, this game is huge! 4 games and a movie deal in what, 1-2 years? This is incredible! You hear about this game just about everywhere. It's massive, and it's hard to ignore. I actually wanted to make a video about it a while ago, but I never got around to it for some reason. So before I get to Resident Evil 6, I figured, hey, why not take a look at this? I think there's actually a couple things I need to say about it. So let's cut straight to it. I really don't like Five Nights at Freddy's. In fact, I am balked by how tremendously popular this computer game series has become, undeterred by what I consider very poor quality. Sorry, that's wrong. This isn't just my opinion, this is actually fact. This game's quality is poor. And that's what I would like to discuss today. Now, I feel it's necessary to reiterate something I talked about back when we looked back at The Last of Us. The one thing that distinguishes video games from all other forms of entertainment is gameplay. As a player, you have some type of agency, and the implementation of methods that allow you to demonstrate that, as well as systems that cause entities within the game to respond to it, that is gameplay. You provide input to the machine, and the machine responds. That's a game. Anything else is just an ornament. Now, I'm not the one to talk about the lore of this game, but I'll admit that it is remarkable. I'm really impressed by the story that the single developer has been able to build over the course of these titles. I mean, it's nuts! Matthew Patrick, one of my favorite YouTubers for a long time, kind of owes a lot of his success to this franchise, and its incredibly deep lore, and confusing plot, and whatever. So yeah, that's great and everything, but it has nothing to do with the actual game. I don't want to dwell on this too much because I already said a lot of this about The Last of Us, but you should never buy a game, and also a game should never be made because of a story. Novels and films cover stories. Games, though, entertainment software, are about technical features and whether or not they're fun. And hey, if they manage to stick a great story in it, good, awesome! You know, as long as it doesn't actually get in the way of the game, that's fine. If they manage to weave technical and artistic concepts together, that's a bonus and not a requirement. Like I said, it's just decoration. I mean, I love Metal Gear Solid, right? One of the most narrative-heavy game series out there. Am I into the story? Absolutely! Is that what got me into the series, though? Absolutely not. Perfect example right here. So Metal Gear Solid 5 came out recently, and unless you've been living under a sedimentary rock, you've probably heard that its story is actually its weakest aspect. That's disappointing, sure, but the game, the set of technical features and systems that allow you to manifest your agency across the Afghanistan and African plains, developing weapons, infiltrating bases, running around with balloons on bipedal walking tanks, rolling around in horse poop, it's all perfect. The game has a crap story, but it's still one of the greatest feats of technology I have ever had the pleasure of interacting with. But anyways, the only thing a game is required to do is function, meaning handle every possible scenario gracefully. An entertaining story is a bonus, and looking pretty is a super bonus. So all of that being said, here's, I guess, my thesis statement for this video. Five Nights at Freddy's is a non-functional, poor quality game. I say this because one feature in particular is handled very poorly, and another is completely omitted from implementation. Two bad things, is that all it takes for me to hate on a game? Yes. Now, before we go any further, let's just think about failure scenarios, by which I mean circumstances where the player fails the game by being killed by one of the monsters, and not an actual misuse case or something. Failing the game or getting a game over is something that the system needs to be able to handle gracefully. Losing is one of the things the player needs to be able to do. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to use a finite state machine again, because there's only so much I can do with the English language to describe the behavior of software, and because I used one in Resident Evil 5 and nobody complained. So this machine represents how the player expects the game to work. You start the game in the alive state. If you manage to make it to the event 6 AM, you arrive at the success state, which takes you to a good final state. If, however, the event monster pops up takes place, you get sent to the failure state, which ends in loss. The problem is that this, the simplest, most logical, and clean behavior the system could have, is not the behavior the system actually has. You see, rather than immediately issuing a game over once the monster pops up and starts screaming at you, the level actually terminates once this, 1 second animation is over. Here, we'll call it the actively dying state. This simple error means that if by chance the clock reaches the 6 AM mark before the short death animation is over, you can avoid the failure state and go straight to the success scenario. Let me make this clear. This is a game about evading monsters, where one of the standard successful sets of activities includes encountering a monster. But why is it such a big deal, you ask? What are the chances that this happens? Well, on my first playthrough of the game, the day I bought it, which I regrettably did not record, this happened to me twice. This is why I'm here today talking about this. If it had never happened, I wouldn't bother talking about Five Nights at Freddy's at all. I need to mention though, I tried recreating the issue while recording but was unable to get it to happen. I tried over and over and over again just to trigger the death at exactly 8 minutes and 36 seconds, but I just couldn't get the timing right. I have hours, yes, hours of footage of myself playing, and I couldn't do it. What you're seeing here though is an alternative way of triggering the 6 AM event. I found out later about cheat codes in the game. For instance, one which immediately triggers the 6 AM event. And what's important to note, especially about finite state machines like Five Nights at Freddy's, I'll explain what I mean by that later, is that it doesn't matter how the event is triggered, it just matters that it is. So there's no reason for there to be any difference between what's displayed using this method and what would happen if the 6 AM event was launched by the timer or whatever. So this is identical to what I'd be able to show you if my timing was better. If I ever manage to get a shot of it, I'll be sure to upload it somewhere. The weirdest thing I managed to get footage of was the power out animation being overlaid over one of the monsters killing me. This is a much more common error to encounter, because all it takes to do it is to get the power to run out while you're looking at the camera while a monster is in the room. And this is just one of many graphical errors I encountered, and that's because pretty much everything in the game is static images with other static images layered on top of each other. I mean, there were problems with the fan when the power goes out, problems with monsters clipping through the side of the wall. Something weird happens when the fox comes into the room. I don't know what's being displayed on these television screens. I don't know what's going on. And it's really disappointing that there are so many graphical issues, when on the audio side, this game is pretty much a masterpiece. Alright, full disclosure, this is like the one little oasis of positivity in this entire video. But if you're someone like me who just saw people doing let's plays of this game and thought it was stupid, it was just about jump scares, these sorts of videos really don't allow this game's audio quality to shine. I mean, the audio isn't just there because, it has to be, like it seems like it is for a lot of games. The audio is something you can use to play the game. You have to pay attention and listen to things and know what they mean. That's actually one of the reasons I really like Metal Gear, because that was one of the first games to really take sound seriously. You had to listen to the wild animals to predict where the enemy was walking around in the forest. You had these microphones you could use. It was really cool. I mean, even in the new game, a lot of the missions require you to just listen to people's conversations. But anyways, back to the 6 AM thing. In case you don't believe me, I searched around YouTube and managed to find video evidence of this 6 AM event overriding the death animation issue. Oh, did you see that? Persisting through all 3 of the game's sequels. One even from a popular channel, so you can have a look here.
Stop. Stop. Do it! What?
So what are the implications of this? Well, the way games typically work is that they separate different magnitudes of difficulty across their levels. If you've managed to complete a level, you're ready to face the next, more complicated challenge using the skills and knowledge you've acquired. If you fail, it means you're not ready, so you should retry until you are. So when I played, when the monster popped up, it meant that I wasn't good enough. I haven't yet learned some basic thing about the game. So the game's priority should be to ensure that I don't move forward, that I stay where I am until I learn how to play the game better. But But because of this error, move forward I did, unprepared for the challenges ahead. And so the difficulty curve of the game was much steeper to me than it is for anyone who experienced a proper playthrough. Also, I should point out, this looks bad. For a game series that goes out of its way to have this crazy mysterious story and an incredible atmosphere, an event like this makes no sense. The monster dude is literally right on top of me, ripping at my face, but whoops, it's 6 a.m. What's he gonna do, just stop? Walk away like none of this ever happened? It's weird to think that this second of gameplay is more important than the second before. If he came literally 1 second earlier, I would have lost. It's unbelievable that this happened to me twice in a row, which meant that I basically just skipped 2 levels without being ready, and that's why I've had a lot of difficulty, because I don't understand how to play the game yet. Now let's look at a closely related but much more significant issue. So this is a game about sitting in a room, looking at cameras, turning on lights to check for monsters, and closing doors. Let's try to prioritize these features in order of importance. So the cameras are really only necessary to defend yourself from the fox, who is the most complex challenge in the game. If you don't watch his stage enough, he comes after you. But if you watch him too much, he also comes after you. You have to find this sweet spot. Even if he does come running down the hall though, the door is still an available deterrent against him. That's why the doors are the most important feature in the game. The idea is that you're supposed to use the cameras to tell when one of the monsters is close, use the light to see if they're right outside the door, and close it if they are. You can, however, realistically play the game exclusively with the doors, meaning without monitoring the cameras at all. It's tough and it relies entirely on random chance, but you can do it. Like if you made a random number generator play this game that only used the doors and just ignored the lights and everything, and if you let this thing run for like a million years, it would eventually complete the game. Probably. I mean, there is at least one computation for which the game will be completed. Whether or not this computation ever actually happens is up to chance. But that's what I'm saying. The doors are the most important. So let's dive a little deeper into how the doors are used to block away the monsters. The doors, obviously enough, have 2 states, open and closed, which transition to one another given the open and close commands by the player. Now, forget about using the lights because the system doesn't need to. It knows the state of everything at all times. Also, again, none of this is actually proper. It's really just for communication. Because in reality, the doors would need to be within their own extended machine as their own actors, since they interact with other actors, as would the monsters and everything else. So if a monster is right outside the door and the door is closed, the player remains alive because the monster can't get in. If, however, the door is open when a monster is outside, what happens? Well, we go to this really weird state that I call monster inside. Here, the monster is currently in the room, but it hasn't attacked yet. So this isn't a failure, you're still alive. But what triggers the attack and the game over, you ask? Does the monster just attack after some X amount of seconds? Actually, no. The only way to trigger the jump scare is to raise the camera screen and then lower it back down. The idea is that it's scary because you're not supposed to know that the monster's in the room. So you go back to acting normal, then check the camera feeds, and when you put the screen down, surprise, the monster's right in front of you. It's actually pretty scary when it works. Problem is, it doesn't always work. I mean, it doesn't work at all for me anymore. So let's take a look back at our diagram. So like I said, the whole idea of the jump scare relies on the fact that you don't know whether or not the monster's in the room. But look at this. When you're in the state monster inside, suddenly you're disconnected from your command over the door that the monster came in through. I purposely did not draw a transition here because there is none. Let me repeat this in simpler terms. When the monster is in the room, you can't close the door. Click the button all you want, all you hear is this little buzzing sound. Which means that once you've played the game once and lost once and encountered this issue once, if you play the game again and at some point you notice that the door is not working anymore, you know that the monster is in the room and you know that you're gonna lose. Which basically cancels the jump scare. You're not gonna be afraid anymore because you know it will happen. And you know exactly what it takes for it to happen. So we're at a point now where we know there's a monster in the room and we know that if we consult the surveillance cameras, the game will end. We know this because we're unable to close the door. The thing is, the game only expects you to use the camera now. One characteristic of the player that the system makes no attempt at handling is stubborn patience. Why the heck would I check my cameras if I know it'll kill me? Yeah, I pop up, pop down, I'm dead. I don't care that there's a monster blocking my door or hiding below my desk or whatever. I can just try to wait it out. Maybe I'll get lucky. I mean, now the fox is an issue because if I can't close the door, I can't stop him from killing me. But hey, I've got nothing else to do that won't kill me. I might as well wait. This is the dumbest thing. There was nothing implemented to force the player into a game over once the monster is in the room. Nothing! A time limit would have worked. Say if the monster's been in the room for like 1 minute and hasn't been triggered by the player yet, it automatically gets triggered. But no, you can just sit there and you can still win. If you make it to 6 a.m., you complete the game and you success, you know, even though the monster's there. This is absolutely broken gameplay-wise, and again, doesn't match the artistic quality of the game. What happens after 6 a.m. if I complete the game with a monster in the room? You know, oh, shift's over, oh, I can leave now, oh, but there's a monster behind my desk. What do I do, trip over it on my way out the door? Do I catch it outside, give him a little pat? Ah, you almost got me up, but I missed you. You told the chicken to pop up when my back wasn't turned to you. Maybe next time. Good luck. See you tomorrow. You just punch my card, walk out the... Like, come on. This is so dumb. This is unacceptable. There's no way it should have ever made it into the release. And considering the massive success of this thing, not have been patched or changed by this point. The game's been out for a year and made like, what, like $2 billion? When a mistake is made, somebody should take responsibility for it. Because that's what this is. This is a mistake. I'm sure if you took this to the creator of this game and you said, hey, was this your intention, that a player could beat the level despite the fact that a monster is in the room? He was like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do. That was the point of the game. No! What he was trying to do was trigger a jump scare in a really spooky way, but he didn't realize that through his mechanics, you could actually predict that a jump scare was going to occur if you did a certain set of, well, not even a certain set of all you do is flip the camera up, flip it down, boom, jump scare, whoa! Really difficult to understand. Come on. I'm sorry. This game really gets me riled up. So you or I ask, how could such critical game-breaking issues have made it into one of the most profitable games in recent history? I can't really say for sure, and this is gonna make me sound like a real jerk, but it's probably because Scott Cawthon, the single developer who made this game and its series of sequels, is not a software engineer. He's a game designer and artist. And as a result of this, Five Nights at Freddy's was not treated as a software project, but as an art project. Now, I'm not trying to rip on this guy. He's made something truly remarkable, but this is what I mean. One of my professors, who I've paraphrased before, recently told me something. He said that what differentiates a software engineering project from a programming project is the artifacts that are produced. If you've made a thing that works, congratulations, you're a programmer. If you can explain to me exactly why it's come to work the way it does, from way at the beginning, during initial conception, domain diagrams showing off the scope of the system within its domain, records of elicitation and evaluation of requirements, how you handled conflicting requests, documents describing different personas and main user stories, a formal specification of requirements that made it through, used to verify their completion and quality at the end of an iteration, class diagrams showing the internal architecture of the system and guiding implementation, use cases describing interactions between actors in the system that yield actual value, all the way to release and possibly maintenance strategies depending on the project. Then congratulations, now you're an engineer. And this is a software engineering project. That's why I passed my requirements engineering final. That was a fun class and a test. So in this sense, Five Nights at Freddy's and other games like it tend not to actually fit the description of a software project and fall somewhere between a programming project and an art project. I mean, you think this guy followed any type of software process making this thing? He was a lone developer working on a personal game project using a game making tool. But I mean, you can't blame him. Like I said, he isn't an engineer and isn't familiar with these sorts of standard practices. My university actually offers some sort of program called computational arts, and I'm not going to pretend for a minute like I know what that is, but I'd like to imagine that's the sort of thing you'd study if you wanted to make games like this. So I'm trying to argue that this game's flaws can be attributed to the fact that no engineering principles were demonstrated during its development, which obviously means I have some sort of solution to propose based on things I've learned in school to prove my point. So let's dive straight into that. Let's try this out. Let's check it out. Let's see what I'm gonna do. Oh. So I'm a software engineering student, and Five Nights at Freddy's is a point-and-click game. Immediately, I'm able to identify the fact that any point-and-click game is composed entirely of a finite set of states, which are transitioned through with mouse movement and clicks. That means that the entire game can be modeled with a finite state machine. At first, I felt it was sufficient to just make that statement and move on, but because I have no life, I actually did it. I modeled the entirety of Five Nights at Freddy's using a set of finite state machines. One for each actor, including like messages between each other. This is actually a pretty good state machine. Probably the most complex one I've ever made for anything. Mind you, I haven't made that many. I broke down the game into the system's main actors. The player, the two main monsters, I don't know what they're called. The one that looks like Barney, that's Monster 1. The duck one, that's Monster 2. The fox one, Freddy. I didn't do Golden Freddy though, since his appearance is really just based on chance. It would have been really easy and not meaningful enough, and it would have just cluttered up the diagram. I also treated both doors and lights as actors, because the monsters and players both interact with them. It's not really like a component of the player. And if I had to draw a sequence diagram for some particular use case, I would want to have each one of their lifelines separate. Then through message sending and state checks, I coupled all of the actors together, making it possible for them to communicate or influence each other's transitions. I'm not going to delve too deep into this because it's a little bit advanced for some people, but if you're interested, I'll upload a video on my second channel where I'll trace the whole thing and I'll explain how to read it, and if you want, you can watch that. If that video's up already, there'll be some sort of link somewhere around here that you can click and it'll take you there. Now, if this is correct, which I believe it is, but I challenge you to check and recommend improvements, there is not a single flow of activity possible in the game that this diagram diagram doesn't capture. That's because a state diagram shows all the possible behavior of an object across all possible use cases and relevant events. And since I modeled every single meaningful actor, this is it. I'm a student and I just modeled a real-life system that at its peak was generating over $12,000 a day. And here's my point. I would bet you $1 million of Scott Cawthon's own money that he didn't produce an artifact like this for the game. Why? Because he didn't know how to. Because he wasn't aware of how such a simple model could have been so useful. But why do I think it matters? Because if he had done this, modeled out his behavior before development or even after completion, he would have learned the same things about the game as I did. Now, see, the great thing about a diagram like this is that you can use it in a quality assurance phase. Now, I'm not talking about game quality assurance. I'm talking, again, typical software project scale quality assurance. Normally, for a larger project, you'd actually have a simulation of the state machine that allows people to run through all sorts of different scenarios. But since the simulation of this machine is really just the game itself, the most we can do is observe it and look for anything weird. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of someone who's come up with an idea for a point-and-click game and produced this diagram to trace their thoughts. Remember my two main problems? One, the 6 a.m. event overrides all other events in the game, and two, you lose control of the doors when a monster comes in, but aren't killed from inactivity. Both of these issues are displayed clearly in the diagram. In fact, I had to go out of my way to represent them, creating all sorts of weird states and transitions. These issues are so obvious that realistically, they wouldn't have made it into the diagram if it were drawn before the game was made. Anyone planning out the flow of player activity would realize that this was weird, confusing, and allowed the player to exploit the game. Actually drawing out the section that explains how you can succeed at the game while you're being attacked forces you to know it. It's not like it's just a logic bug that made it through. The only way I could accept its inclusion in the final game would be if there was no other way, but there are plenty of other ways. To fix the 6 a.m. issue, a simple solution would just be to stop the timer's decrements once the jump scare has been triggered. Or hey, if that's too complicated, just add the duration of the jump scare animation to the current value of the timer. Whoop-de-doo! This instantly makes the game more fair. You should not be able to win if you're about to lose in 0.5 seconds. There's no reason for this. How about some way to counter the stubborn players who know that the camera triggers death and refuse to use it? Like I said before, you could add a time limit before the death animation is automatically triggered. Another, more interesting alternative would be to force the player to use the cameras, unknowingly killing themselves. And what makes me happy is that that's what it seems like the future games did. What with the overload of new features only accessible through the camera system, like activating sounds to distract the monsters, repairing the ventilation system or whatever. These were a great way to force the player's hand without them realizing it. In this game though, because there was literally nothing else to do with the cameras than look through them, once you realize your fate's been sealed, bullets in the chamber ready to fire, why pull the trigger? You can try to wait it out, see if you can still survive. Just waiting, staring at that stupid laggy fan. So the point to all of this is that this single diagram, this simple tool that every software engineer has tucked away within the folds of their brain, finite state machines, yet again could have potentially saved the day. But again, you can't blame this guy. I mean, look. So when I was preparing for the video, I actually learned it was possible to decompile the game and all of its sequels. What that basically means is that using the same tool Scott used, Fusion, currently free, I could open up the game and see everything as if I were the developer. I could see everything that he saw and that he made. Only problem I ran into is that the project used a couple of extensions that weren't free, and since I didn't want to pay $100 for the Super Edition, I found an alternative. Someone else who did it took extensive screenshots and broke them all down. By the way, now would be a great time to mention that all of my sources are available in some sort of document in the description. Anyways, if that interests you, you can check the description, and there'll be some sort of like, for example, you can see wherever I had found these pictures from. They will be formally cited in IEEE. I hope you, well, yeah, I guess IEEE is the best for video because it's, you know, as it progresses. Whatever. Now, I didn't know anything about Fusion, but if it was anything like Unity, I was hoping to actually be able to take a look at some scripts and make some sense out of it. Unfortunately, this was not the case. I don't know what this is. I mean, it's code, I guess, but a lot of it is just super abstracted. It kind of looks like just lists and lists of commands, like animations to run, frames to switch to. I was actually hoping to be able to make a couple of quick modifications to the game and finally put my money where my mouth is for once. But I just don't get this. Everything, literally everything is based on these random numbers. I get it, randomness has its place, but it isn't an acceptable substitute for actual design. Their one use, though, that I think is pretty clever is how each monster decides to move based on a random number generated between 1 and the maximum possible activity level, and then if they do move, the activity level increases. Like, that whole thing with activity levels, that was pretty good. Good on you, Mr. Cawthon. But anyways, the point is that the tool that was used to make this game is more of an artistic tool. Yes, I'm sure artists can make some pretty cool things with it, but again, any sort of formal software design documents or diagrams would have greatly helped. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure Scott produced a variety of different documents to go with the game, but I wouldn't expect anything more complicated than a natural language only game design document. And unfortunately, that wouldn't have been enough to catch these bugs before they made it into the game. And I can see how, you know, even identifying them and trying to fix them could have been a daunting task. So what does this mean moving forward? Well, like I said, it seems like Mr. Cawthon is at least aware of these issues with his first majorly successful title, based on what we've seen from the sequels. I'm just not really interested in taking a look at any of them myself. The lore is great, sure, but to me it doesn't make up for the non-functionality of the first game. And there's no reason that at this point it hasn't been fixed yet. I mean, the game could be re-released, it could be patched, it could be updated, but it hasn't been. And when you've gained this much success, and when you've made this much money off a game, it kind of feels like, you know, it's your responsibility to fix this, if you've identified it at least. Which, like I said, I feel like, you know, he has. It's just, you know, it's kind of like, it's like a big smack in the face to, you know, anybody who cares about software quality. But I don't know, maybe it's just me. It seems like I have a bad habit of genuinely not being impressed by popular games. It's just like when I talked about The Last of Us. I was really upset that the game of the year, a game about traveling the world, escorting a variety of different partners, featured partners who served no functional purpose. They were invisible. I proved it. They were worse than the partner in Resident Evil 5, and I made a whole video about how much it sucked. Fun story, that video actually got seen by my professor, who asked me to prepare a presentation about it for his class. I gave a presentation to a class of undergraduate software engineering students about how bad an AI partner system was that was actually better than the partner system in The Last of Us, the game of the year. This was the best we could do in a whole year. This! And despite everything I showed and proved, people disagreed with me. They still loved the game because of its great story or whatever. Everyone's attached to it for some reason. But nobody understood the point I was trying to make. Sure, a game can have a great story, yes, it can be shrouded in mystery and whatever, but a game is a game. It needs to be played. So when a core piece of the game either doesn't work at all or doesn't work the way it should, we should be upset. Super Smash Bros. Is a great game. It's a technical masterpiece, and it's just as much a piece of art as The Last of Us or Five Nights at Freddy's. But it's a better game because none of its many more inherently more complex features are actually flawed. That's the point I'm trying to make. I wish people would be more critical about these sorts of things, the essence of games, and that their actual playability and structure would have a higher impact on their overall publicly perceived quality than they currently do. Because these days it almost looks like that's overlooked sometimes. Anyways, thank you for watching. Happy holidays if that still applies by the time this video comes out. Anyways, thank you. Well, whatever. Oh, crap, I think I lost one of them. Maybe he's outside the door? Oh, no. Oh, that means he's inside, right? The door won't close. Ah, wonderful. Terrific. Ah, okay. Okay, now we're gonna play the waiting game, huh? We're gonna see how long I can last, huh? What time is it? I can make it, I can make it. I know you're in here, Malaka, where are you? You know, you might as well leave. There's no point. I'm patient as crap. I'm just gonna sit here, chill, until I get to walk out of here. So, you know, okay. Okay, I can do this. How much power do I have? Oh! Okay, maybe I can't do this. Okay, you know what? We're gonna try really hard. We're gonna hold our breath. Just pray that this all works. Oh, Gesù, Giuseppe, Maria! Okay. Okay. Okay, just a little bit. Okay, things are getting serious now, okay. Gesù, Giuseppe, Maria, sta in fronte a te, sta in fronte a te. Oh, sole mio, sta in fronte a te. Sta in fronte a te. Hey, look at the time! What? Catch you later, loser! I don't know if any of that was good. But it was me the whole time. It was me the whole time. The mask is still on my back. It's stuck. Oh crap! It's stuck to my back because there's Velcro. There we go. I have done something. Not really sure what, but I've definitely accomplished something today. Welcome to the end screen! My voice just cracked. Oh my god, wait, let me just redo that so I don't sound like a freaking wacko. Welcome to the end screen! That was better. Look at how it spins, look at that! I actually have a couple of end screen points today, but I did not forget my peppers! Now, these are chili peppers that came from my garden a very long time ago because it's winter right now. Obviously, I didn't harvest them today. And they were sitting in my fridge for a very long time, and I wanted to make an earlier video when they were fresh because they'd be spicier to bite into. I'm gonna crack a pepper open and we're gonna take a look at it. Oh no, it looks fine. Yeah, they look good. Okay, I'm gonna take a bite of this pepper and then we're gonna, I'm gonna talk about all the things I want to talk about in the end screen. I'm gonna take a bite of this. I really don't know how hot it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be so bad. Okay. Oh! Okay! Oh my god! Okay! Oh, the burps are already coming. Okay! Number one, some of you may have noticed, some of you ran up to me. Oh my god, this is so bad! I have recently broken 1,000 subscribers. Isn't that incredible? There are 1,000 people who think I'm relevant for some reason. I want to talk for a second about the implications of that. It seems like I'm not getting all the emails because I get email notifications whenever anyone does anything on my YouTube channel. I get an email for every subscriber, I get an email for every comment, everything. And ever since I broke 1,000, I have not been receiving emails for the subscribers. So I don't know, but it seems like it's also been happening for comments because sometimes I see a comment that I don't recognize. Oh my god. So, what I want to say about that though is I thank you everybody for your nice comments. Honestly, these comments make me feel so good. So, I've gotten a lot of comments where people just straight up say you're my favorite person I watch. I'm like, really? Nobody watches me. What's the matter with you? But anyway, thank you. That really makes me feel like this is good. The one thing I want to say though is that for me, this is always a hobby. This has always been a hobby, and it will always remain a hobby. I'm never going to make money doing this, and I don't want to. I'm a software engineering student. Someday I will be a software engineer, and I will work at some place, and I will have a great time and a great job. Maybe I'll work in a game company. Hopefully that's what I do. That's why, I don't release videos very often. I work on them when I can. This is what I do for fun. This is the fun thing. But I always told myself if ever I reach that point, I have to take it a little bit more seriously. So I will take it a little bit more seriously than a hobby, but it's still it has to be a hobby. I'm sorry. School is my #1 priority. Which brings me to my second main point. I'm gonna eat another pepper because you know what? Maybe not yet. Let's talk about this a little bit more seriously before I eat another pepper. So this is a hobby, I do it between school. Actually, I have an exam tomorrow. Problem is, this is kind of my last chill semester. I'm in my 3rd year, and I can't tell if I'm crying because of the pepper or I'm crying because I realize how difficult this is going to be. I will, whatever amount of effort I have spared, I will focus on this, but that amount of effort might be 0. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to focus on big, long video projects for YouTube. Sometimes people don't realize it's a very, very long process. It takes at least a couple of weeks where this is all I'm not, whenever I don't sit down and watch TV, I don't sit down and play a game for a little while. Whenever I have a minute to myself, I edit a video. I also have a lot of, I just had surgery a little while ago. I have a lot of different other concerns other than videos at the moment. So I'm sorry, I gotta take care of those first. That has to be priority, and I'm sorry. So, because I'm not going to be able to focus on big projects, I might be doing all sorts of little other dumb things. And then I realized I've never actually mentioned that I am kind of somewhat active on different things. So if you actually care about what I do, whatever, and what I think about things, like I said before, you could find me on Facebook and message me and just ask me questions. I talk to a lot of different people all the time who ask me questions about videos. I'm still going to try to reply to all the comments that I see. You know what? This pepper wasn't as bad. I haven't swallowed it yet, so but it's my tongue is numb at this point. But yeah, if you're interested, I have a Facebook page. I don't use that very much. I also have a Twitter. I use that sometimes for stuff. And if ever you have a question, you could message me there. I'll talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. We'll have a great time. So if you want to keep in touch, that's how we do it. Because I don't know how active I'm going to be able to be for a while. Oh, yeah, I mentioned it shortly in the video. I did a presentation on Resident Evil 5 in school. That was a lot of fun. Okay, next thing. So I know I started a series last summer on Resident Evil and Pikmin, and my Pikmin 1 video is I actually disliked that video. That's how myself. I hate that video. I hate how it turned out. It was so... Oh, now it hit me. Oh, here's my thing. Because I don't know how active it would be, I don't know when I'm going to ever do these. So I will let you decide. You tell me what you're more interested in. Me completing the Resident Evil series and talking about Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 6, or making a video about Pikmin 2 first, because honestly have no interest in continuing that series, because the first video sucked so bad. But if you you tell me what you think is more important, then I'll focus on that, and then I'll figure the rest out later. I don't know if I put it in the video, but I apologize ahead of time for my exceptionally bad hair day today. I don't know what happened. Then I want to talk about another. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, that's all for now. I need to go eat lunch, and then I need to study some more for my test tomorrow. I have to make a joke about Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, I'm gonna make a joke about Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's is a great game. There's my joke. Oh my god, I didn't even know I could make a joke that freaking a laugh that weird. I've never made a laugh like that in my life. That's messed up. Okay, bye-bye. See you later. Wait, how do, oh yeah.